It's my pleasure to introduce Professor Rajiv Gandhi. Rajiv is currently at the University of Rutgers-Camden. If you try and Google for Rajiv Gandhi and don't include Rutgers-Camden, you'll get somebody different. So he got his PhD in 2003 from the University of Maryland, where he did work under Professor Samir Cooler on approximation algorithms, which is a topic of interest to a lot of us. But he's going to talk about not so much approximation algorithm per se, but what he's doing with that to reach out to both undergraduates and high school students. Looking forward to your talk.
Thank you. Thank you very much, David, and thank you very much for having me here. So in this talk, I have summarized my experiences of working with students at Rutgers-Camden, which is my home institution, and as well as students at other institutions. And I hope that from these experiences, some of you may benefit, the faculty as well as students. So let me start by giving some background about Rutgers-Camden. Camden is in South Jersey, the southern tip of New Jersey. It's a 4-year liberal arts college, and for most of the students on this campus, studying is a part-time activity because, so let me give you just one line. Camden is the city with the highest crime rate in the country, right? And so a lot of our students who come from a very different socioeconomic background than, at many of the other places. So, most of the students, they hold full-time jobs or at least part-time, and studying is a part-time activity. It's a commuter campus. They come to campus, take some classes, and they leave. And most of them are there because they just want to get a degree and leave, right? And a large fraction of our students transfer from community colleges. So that is a very important point because, that leaves a very small window of time to have an impact on them. Right? So they have finished 2 years at a community college, and then they come here to finish the remaining 2 years at Rutgers-Camden. Right? And for the first 14 years of the department, of the computer science department, hardly any student went to graduate school. Right? So when I joined Rutgers-Camden in 2003, the first thing I was told is that, look, your tenure is going to be dependent on your research, and you may not want to spend a whole lot of time spending on teaching, and working with students will not get you at any place, and so you may just want to just teach the bare minimum and just go on. And also what I observed was when I went there, most of the courses that I found on our campus, and while I'm saying our campus, I believe this is true of many other places also, but I can only talk of what I have seen. So, most of the courses were very diluted, and the faculty would say that, look, the students are weak, so, what can we do? And fine, so I started teaching there, and right in my very first semester, I had some students who were really good, and I asked myself, look, I was no better than these students when I was in their shoes, right? So, why, and when we had our faculty meeting, I still remember saying that, look, I find our students very good, and I just don't see why they cannot go to graduate school or do some very good work that, or do the kind of work that we have done. But I was, unsuccessful at convincing my colleagues, and, in all fairness, we all have some, we all make some conclusions in our mind, and, the other faculty, having been there for so many years, had kind of made up their mind that, look, we've been here for many years, we couldn't do much with the students, so, we don't see how, these students can do better. Right, so what I did from years 2003 to 2006, anytime I would come across a good student, I would say, oh, you may want to go to some other place. Right, so I would tell them, and I thought I was doing a good job, so I would tell some of my undergrad students, they transferred to Michigan, Penn, and so on. But in hindsight, I just find that it was very silly. How could I even think that this is a sustainable solution, right? First of all, these are students from Camden. They come from a very different socioeconomic background. How can they even afford to do that? But it so happened by coincidentally that a few of them somehow managed to pay their fees here by taking loans and so on, right? And as expected in 2006, I hit a roadblock when I had the student Brad Greening in my Math Foundations class, which is the freshman level class, and I told Brad the same thing, go somewhere else. And Brad said, look, what do you mean go somewhere else? I cannot, because number one, I cannot afford. I have 12 other siblings after me who have to go to college. And so, going somewhere is not an option. Plus, I really don't care. Why should I go somewhere else? I'm doing well here. I'm getting my A grades, my B grades. And plus, I have a $35,000 per year job at Comcast as a customer sales representative. Right? So I thought, okay, fine. So here is one student who would not go somewhere else. So, why not I just work with the student on research and so on. So I invited the student in summer 2007 to work with me on research. And that was a total failure. So he would come to me for the first couple of weeks, but every time after that I send an email, either he would give a one-line answer saying that I'm busy or I cannot, and then soon after that he even stopped replying to my emails, right? So, it was a total failure. And then I remember in the first day of fall semester, I'm walking in the hallways and there I see Brad. Obviously he was trying to go in the other direction than what I was walking. And I told him, I said, we need to talk now. He said, I have a class. I said, no, forget the class, we need to talk right now. So, and we go in, we have a long conversation in my office. And actually I must mention what happened. In summer 2007, I had no NSF funding, no funding at that time. I managed to get a $450 award for him to work on research during the summer paid by the university. So I told him, I said, look, I need to write a report to the university. What happened with this $450? So we need to do something. Of course I could have written anything I wanted, but so I told him that we need to do that, and he said, okay, so what should we do? So we thought about it, and I had this book on my shelf that I was meaning to read, Proofs That Really Count, The Art of Combinatorial Proof. And I said, why don't you take this book, you read the proofs from this book, and you explain to me every week some proofs. Right, and we do that for some time, and when you have enough, I can write saying that Brad did this during the summer. So he did that. He did that during the entire fall, and he did a magnificent job. And by the end of the semester, he had read almost every chapter of that book, and he explained me proofs very nicely. And I said, oh, this is great material for a nice presentation. Why don't you just make a nice presentation and present it to the faculty? So he prepared a presentation, and in spring of 2008, in January of 2008, he gave a department colloquium, which he also gave later on at the University of Maryland in their seminar series. And I got this email from the faculty. It says, I had him in my class a few years ago, and based on that, I would have never guessed that he'd be capable of giving the seminar talk that he gave a few weeks back. Right, so he gave an absolutely magnificent presentation. You can find that, the link is there through my webpage. And at that time I told him, I said, look, and first of all, it gave a big boost to his confidence because he was presenting something that was new even to the faculty. And I was telling him for a while at that time that why don't you quit your job? You'll be able to focus more on studies. But that was something that he would just listen to me and he would leave and nothing would happen. Finally, after his talk, we again had a conversation, and there were some opportunities coming up for summer research internship, and I said, look, I'm willing to write a letter, but I don't have 100% trust, and I don't feel comfortable writing a strong letter because of what happened last summer. I said, what if the same thing happens? You decide in the middle that you don't want to do this, so how can I have a complete faith? So I said, why don't you quit your job, and work out, and then we'll see what to do. And I remember it was a Friday afternoon. I told him, I said, think about it and let me know by Monday. He comes on Monday with a small face, I remember, in the afternoon, and that was a very intense conversation between us. And he said, Rajiv, I cannot quit this job. And he said, this job is very important because, first of all, my parents would not let me quit this job. My parents are not happy that, for me to pursue academics at all. They want me to graduate, get a nice car, and so on. And so I went through him. I said, and he told me very honestly, look, when I come to your office, you tell me all these things, I'm excited. The moment I leave your office and I go to my friends, I get a completely different picture. They say, why do you want to do this? You get your A's and B's. Why do you even want to work any harder? Right? And it's completely understandable coming from his point of view. So he said, I don't know what to do. I'm really torn. So at that time, I took out a paper and I said, okay, just tell me your expenses. What are your expenses? I had no funding at that time, so it came to around $500. I told him, I said, what about if I write a check from my checkbook, and you can pay me whenever you have money, but I really want you to quit the job, and I can tell you good things will happen. He said, okay, let me think. I said, okay, take one more day and think about it and let me know. And so this was a Monday, and on Tuesday night or Wednesday early morning, I would say he wrote an email, which I think was mainly, I would say, the turning point of what has happened after that at Rutgers-Camden. And it was, I would say, and so this talk, the first time he invited me to make a talk on this, and I said, I really don't know what to even say in this talk. So I had to go back in my emails and look over the emails, and something that seemed like very inconsequential at that time, I think was one of the very significant emails. So, and this was the email. You can see it was written past midnight, and the title was Decision, right? So it was that important at that time. And he said, I would like, you see the tentativeness in his wordings. I would like to try to go for it, right? Again, that is not sure what is, what am I doing? As per our discussion, I figure even if things don't work out with the work we would have done plus blah, 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 will be able to get another job, that should the worst case happen. Again, negative thinking, worst case happen. He is not, you can see the lack of confidence, right? And then, by my figures, the lower bound of 550 per month would allow me to pay my parents their money plus blah, blah, blah. And this is what exactly describes the background of students at Rutgers-Camden. I mean, I was given everything on a silver platter. Okay, I didn't even ever have to think that I would have to pay my parents' rent. Right? So this is the background that the students come from, right? And so anyway, and so this is the email that he wrote. Only later on did he tell me, Rajiv, when I sat down to write this email, I was going to write you, I will not quit my job. And he said, I don't know what happened to me at the last minute. I just wrote this and I just emailed it. So, this is, so it was, so anyway, this was the email that he sent. He quit his job and he then got a summer research internship with Professor Nina Pfefferman at Rutgers, New Brunswick, who eventually becomes his PhD advisor. So anyway, so that was Brad. And then a lot of things happened around 2008, 2009. Okay, remember I joined Rutgers in 2003. I had nothing, no funding, nothing until 2008. In 2008, I get NSF funding. That was very, very critical. And another thing I did was, remember I said Brad was a student in my Math Foundations class. This Math Foundations class was a core course to all computer science majors. It is the first year course typically people take at the end of first year or at the beginning of second year. And it was a core course, and as I said, most courses at Rutgers-Camden were very, very diluted. And it used to make very angry, very angry, thinking that the students are paying fees, they are not getting what they deserve. So I said, if the students don't realize that they are being cheated with these watered down courses, maybe they will not realize if I increase the workload too much. and that's exactly what I did. I just increased the workload. And I made homework, I gave them homework assignment in every class that was due the next class. So they had no breathing room, they had to work. Another thing I did was I requested the chair to put me for the Math Foundations course for 3 consecutive semesters, so they don't have the option of dropping my course and taking somebody else's. They know that they know that they have to pass this course, right, if they want to go any further. So that I did, and then what happened was around 2008, September, Tom DeHart comes to me and says, Rajiv, I just came to your office to say thanks for everything, and I'm going to graduate. So I asked him, I said, graduate and do what? I said, I don't think I would give you a job with your knowledge. So I said, what are you going to do? So he, very politely asked me, what would you suggest that I do? And at that time, in fall of 2008, September of 2008, I was teaching a freshman level programming class. I said, I don't think that your programming is that good, and you would need good, programming skills to get a job. So I said, why don't you just delay your graduation? I'm talking to someone who's graduating that semester. I said, don't graduate, take my freshman level class. And I said, good things will happen. I said, I can tell you that you will get a job. Your job is my responsibility. Again, I had no idea how I would deliver, but that's what I said. And that is when James Davis also was a student in my, James also, I met accidentally, because in the sense he was not in my course, but one of his friends was in the course, and his friend was having trouble, so she used to come during my office hours. And I said, is anyone helping you? She said, yeah, my friend who's in the math department, he helps me. I said, what is he? And he said, for him all this stuff is easy. I said, why don't you ask him to take my class? He said, no, he's a senior, he's going to graduate, and this is a freshman level class. I said, don't worry, I can make it sufficiently challenging for him. So he comes. So that's how he comes to my class, and he sits in my course, right? And that's how I meet him. And he was also going to graduate soon, and they both decided that, okay, they will postpone their graduation. Tom is now taking my freshman level programming classes. I also introduced a course. Remember I said that the students have 2 years, at Rutgers-Camden, they come after 2 years from a community college. So, I have very small window of opportunity to do anything. So I introduced a course in which students are required to read research papers. So, people like James and many others were reading research papers in their second semester of computer science, more or less. And, whatever background they would need when they were reading advanced topics, I would give them the background. And they were also required to present the research papers, right? And during the spring of 2009, all presentations in the department Colloquium were given by the undergrad students. And all those presentations are there online. You can go through them. They were really done very well. At that time, Brad also gets admitted into the PhD program at Rutgers. So that was very nice. And that was you can say more or less, first student in many, many years to get into the PhD program. Now, quite a few students got summer internships. All my students, they got summer internships and so on. One person did not get a summer internship. And that was Tom, to whom I had promised that, I take responsibility of your job and so on, right? And Tom comes to my office. I still remember that. He's very polite. He said, Rajiv, what do we do? The good thing was I had NSF funding, so I knew that I could cover the money. But he was interested in non-theory areas, and which I could not deliver. Had it been theoretical computer science, I would have loved to work with him and so on, but he wanted to work in human-computer interaction. So I asked him, I said, if you would have got all the internship offers that you applied to, where would you have gone? He said, I would have gone to work with so-and-so at Virginia Tech, because that was my top choice. Okay, I said, too bad, let's see what happens. After he goes, I was very angry with myself that I could not deliver. And I remember I just started typing an email and to Virginia Tech folks, and I just wrote to them. I said, if money is the issue, I will take care of the money. I just want you to give him a chance and you to just accept him and just let him work at for your summer internship. I didn't get any email for 10 days. Finally, I get an email that if you are willing to take care of money because we don't have any, we don't mind him having to, to come to Virginia Tech and work with us. This was 3 or 4 days before the program starts. Tom drives to Virginia Tech and he starts there. Now what happens at the end of the summer, we get this email. So first email was regarding Josh, who went to Maryland. Said Josh was fabulous. We got paper and so on. And there people are trying to get him to apply to Maryland, right? So that was Josh. And then the Tom, who was rejected everywhere, he gets this email saying that, Tom, I've enjoyed working with you on this project. Kathy mentioned that you're submitting application for graduate school. I hope you will consider applying to UW. UW is University of Wisconsin-Madison. So now people from other universities who came to know of Tom's work want him to apply to University of Wisconsin. This is the same student who 6 weeks ago got rejected, or 2 months ago got rejected at every place that he had applied to. Right? And we are well funded, blah, blah, blah. I hope, they were actually seeing if he was interested in visiting them. Another email that Tom got, you may recall that we met during a research project at VT. I wanted to encourage you to apply and so on. Right? So this is the same student who was rejected. Now, people were trying to get him to, apply to their programs. So James gave very nice presentations at Maryland and UPenn, and this was one of the emails that I received, that, it is very nice that the students can understand such key research papers, right? So this were, the research that was happening at that time. Faculty at other institutions offered to write letters. This was also a very significant thing because many of our faculty didn't believe that our students could do so well. And they were very well-meaning, but when you don't believe, it all reflects in the letter, right? And it would be very hard to write so it was very important that faculty from other institutions would support our students. And 4 students got accepted to graduate programs. 1 went to Cornell, Dartmouth, Princeton, and Virginia Tech. Now more students want to pursue graduate studies. I get such emails that I'm quitting my job. This is without asking. Now I'm not telling anyone to quit their job. They want to quit their job and they want to do this, right? And so again, what is important is the role models, right? So there was a time where I was chasing students. Now they were chasing me. So that was a very important change. And just to take the trajectory snapshots. James Davis, his high school GPA was so low that Rutgers-Camden would not accept him. Right? We accept anyone and everyone, but we would not accept James. So, and he planned to work at ShopRite, his employer, after high school. He was introduced to computer science in 2008, quits his job in 2009, starts graduate studies here in 2010, and is a recipient of NSF Graduate Fellowship. Tom Diaz gives up his job in 2008 to focus on academics. Yeah, he was retaking through the whole freshman sequence, gets turned down initially at all REUs, then gets accepted to Virginia Tech for graduate studies, and he starts there, and since then he's been there. Right, and this is just the story of a few students, but there are many, many others, and they all have very, very interesting stories. I can spend easily 30 minutes on each student with really fascinating stories. Brian Bruwak is now doing computer science. He was in filmmaking. He transferred to computer science. Sean Lowen was a high school student when I met him, and then he had admission at CMU and so on, but he decided to spend a year at Rutgers-Camden to work with me. And just to tell you the motivation level of the students, Sean was a freshman in his first semester at Rutgers-Camden. He wanted to learn algorithmic game theory. So he said, Rajiv, I want to learn algorithmic game theory. Unfortunately, I don't know that subject that well to teach him, and I didn't have enough time to read it up and teach him. So he found out that University of Maryland is offering a course on algorithmic game theory, and coincidentally that semester it was being offered for just 1 day, 3 hours lectures. So while people at Maryland were complaining that they have to sit through 3-hour lectures, it was great for us because Sean said, I will drive there and I will take the class. This is the motivation level of a freshman student, right? So Vijay Kothari and Sean Lowen would drive to Maryland 2 hours, 2 hours 15 minutes, attend the class and come back. And they did that for the entire semester. Right? So this is the motivation that they had. And I can talk about Carl Trimbach. Carl Trimbach, his father is in the maintenance department at Rutgers-Camden. And again, coincidentally, I like to talk to people. So, once I was coming from the train station and he was coming from somewhere else, and we just met for a minute. And he just told me, hey, Gandhi, what do you teach? So I said, I teach computer science. He said, oh, my son is a math whiz. So I said, okay, ask him to come and see me. And that's how Carl Trimbach came. And of course, he tells me, he said, I really was very angry at him that he talked to you about me and I had to come and talk to you. And when I don't even know you. But since then we've been working. And, Chris Rees has a very interesting story. His transcript is highly decorated. His transcript is decorated with F grades, right? I have not seen anyone getting more Fs than Chris Rees. But, I would say one of the smartest students I've come across. And he was he was first in my class. He was really a problem student, and he didn't even finish the course. But suddenly after 3 years, he again shows up in my class, and I'm like, oh my God, he's still around. And he was a completely different student. And after a few weeks, he comes to my office and he says, I've taken this up as a challenge, and I've done a lot of crazy things in my teenage years, but I'm a different person now, and I just want to prove more to myself, that is himself, that I can do well in your courses and so on. And again, I told him, I said, look, if you do well, there are a lot of opportunities. And again, based on his transcript, obviously no one is going to take him, but by then I had already figured out the mechanism of how to get people internships if they don't get one. And he also got rejected at everywhere, and I did the same thing. I contacted USC, which was his top choice, University of Southern California. I said, look, I'll pay for his cost if you can take him. And they took him. And so I'll just tell you one thing. So he had once come to my office and we were just chatting, and he said, Rajiv, if you dismantle my car and if you blindfold me, I can put my car back together in 2 days. Right? I of course never tested it, but just to have that confidence to say, and he said, all these things I have learned on my own. He said, nobody has taught me about cars. How can that guy not be smart? Right? And so he worked at USC on sensor networks for motor vehicles, and he did so well, they got a publication out of it, and now that project is funded by General Motors. So even when he came back to Rutgers-Camden, USC folks would always call him, and they would have a conference call every week. Right? So, I have lots of stories about all these folks, very interesting, and they all are doing pretty well. So, if we talk about takeaways, so what are the things that I would say that one can take from this? So one is, what we have done is resource augmentation, right? So in some sense, I've given, given a lot of time to this folks. So that is in some sense just telling them, look, I'm there. You don't worry. All you have to do is study, right? And you work hard, and good things will happen. And that just sometimes words are very powerful, right? Sometimes when I talk to my students, I just use the word we a lot, saying that, why don't we do this rather than why don't you do this? And that kind of gives them a sense of I'm not alone in this. And that is very important, especially for the students who come to Rutgers-Camden. Right? Second thing, funding was a great resource augmentation, right? Because I could tell my students, you can quit all your jobs, not worry about money at all, money will be taken care of, right? And of course, family and friends, because they are also very, very important to to them. And faculty at other universities helped a lot. For example, giving them summer internships and so on. Right? They didn't have to entertain my emails to them. Right? Role models, extremely significant, right? Before, as I said, when I would go to students, they would not believe me. I've lost a lot of good students just because I could not make them believe that good things will happen if you work hard, right? But after the success of the other students, as you saw, the others, now it's very, very easy to convince students to do this. In fact, I don't even have to spend time convincing. Right? So there are lots of students now who want to pursue academics at Rutgers-Camden. Right? So in the last 3 years, we have had 6 students going to PhD, which is a very big deal for a place like Rutgers-Camden. Right? And again, this approach, depth first versus breadth first. By this, what I mean is, we had only 2 years. The Rutgers-Camden student, when they come from community college, they had only 2 years before they would graduate. How can you inspire them to pursue academics? They have come with a mindset. First of all, they are 20, 21 years old. They have come with the mindset that, look, I want to get out and I want to get some kind of job, whatever I can get. So and plus at least in the last semester they're looking for jobs. So it's very hard to convince them then. So whatever we had to do was we had to do in the first, two semesters or 3 semesters. So had to really perform. So if you take the whole tree of all the courses with the prerequisite, maintaining the prerequisite structure, what do typically a student do? They take the freshman courses, they take the sophomore, they take the junior, then they take the senior. To me, the real interesting fruit is at the senior level. Why should a student go to the senior level courses in their end of 3rd year or end of 4th year? Why can't they just take one depth first approach, go all the way down, do research in one area while they are finishing the other requirements? Right? So that way they get research exposure, and that's the thing that I've used with students very successfully, not only at Camden and but with other students also. By increasing the workload in math foundations, basically it instilled a very strong work ethic in them. I had students come to my office literally in tears saying that I cannot believe I did so well in this course. And to support I would always tell my colleagues that look, my students are as good as students from any place. And then at some point, when my colleagues would doubt me, I would started doubting myself. I said, am I just disillusioned or what? So what I would do, the nice thing about internet is, the same course, for example, at that time was being taught by Tom Layton at MIT and David Wagner at Berkeley, and I literally used to take problems from MIT and Berkeley. What they would give a week, I would give them just 3 days. I said, you do that. I would take their exam question and put them here, and now you see, and once they get the score, at least I feel that, okay, what I'm thinking is correct. It's not that they are not capable of doing good work. And this is just something that I was traveling on the airport, and I saw a book that said everyone communicates, few connect. And the reason I put it there is people always ask me, what is it that you are doing different that works with students? And I really don't have a good answer, but maybe I connect well with people. Clearly I connect well, but I don't know if that is the only thing. But I just thought I'll just put that. I've also started working with high school students, which I'm very actively involved in now. This project started in 2009-2010. Again, there was no plan. It was just that a group of faculty, including me, we were complaining about the poor high school preparation that kids have when they come to college. And I was also part of it. Then I thought about it. I said, I'm complaining, but I don't even have any idea about the high school education here because I've not studied here. So I wrote an email to several schools saying that, look, can I come and give a talk? And I didn't get a response back. But then, I remember I was at a farmer's market, and the Chinese farmer who supplies me vegetables, his daughter was helping him, and I said, oh, your daughter, she's in high school. Yeah, she's in high school. I said, I teach math. Is your daughter interested? Yeah, she's very interested. So, she started coming. So I said, if she wants, she can come, and I can start working with her. So she asked me, can I bring my friend? I said, of course. So I had 4 students in 2009 summer. I met with them twice a week. And we studied just various topics. And then September came, and I'm like, oh, I still haven't received any email from the schools. So I just picked up a random school, Cherry East, which was in my vicinity, and I called up the principal and I said, I sent an email to give a talk, and I haven't yet received a response back. He said, look, I don't have too much time, but you talk to this math teacher, and he sends me an email with a copy to Linda Heath at the Cherry East. And she arranges a talk in her class, and she, tells me that, look, other teachers were not willing to give you the time because they didn't have the time or so on, but I'll give you 37 minutes of my class. So I just talked to the students about the work I do, and I said, look, Saturday morning 10 a.m. I'll be at Rutgers-Camden. If anyone wants to study math, I'll be there. 3 students came on the first Saturday, and we studied for 2.5 hours. Then the word spread that, hey, there is no catch. We came back, we didn't have to pay anything. And so the next week there were 6, and that group increased to 15. And we met every other Saturday in fall of 2009. And in February, the students asked me that, can I work with them during the summer? Now that was a big commitment. I thought about it, and I said, I will, provided you commit to me, about 8 to 9 weeks, and I want you to spend about 6 to 7 hours every day. And this student said yes. Okay, the fact that they are willing to spend their summer studying math, that itself was enough for me. I didn't have to look at anything else. And of course, I knew the students. And we covered topics like algorithms, NP completeness, and so on. And that is when student Sean Lowen, who was a high school student, just 1 month before going to Carnegie Mellon, he said, I don't want to go to Carnegie Mellon. I want to stay back at Rutgers-Camden, and I want to do more of this. And that really panicked his parents. But anyway, so, and then fall 2010, some of the students take graduate level classes that they essentially are studying from the book that is written by David Williamson and David Schmois. Starting summer 2011, the program is being run at Princeton University, and it's been sponsored by the Interactability Center. And the program now has about 30 students. They come 7 hours every day for 7 weeks roughly. And just last summer, the 30% of the high school students were female. And this year I expect that to be at least 50%, if not more. And some students read research papers and they present them while they are in high school. And let me just say, these students are not what you read about this International Math Olympiad winners and all. These are very normal students. In fact, Chris Jung is from that program, and very normal students who are just hardworking, and they just want to learn. And the fact that somebody wants to spend 7 weeks of their summer just studying math, that itself is, good enough. So we hardly even look at transcripts. This is the first time that we have more applicants than seats, and we may have to turn away some students. Yeah, so this is one of the emails that I get from a student who had come from India all the way, missing 2 months of her school to study math, and she actually didn't like math. What happened was, when I was in India, I used to volunteer there on Saturdays also, and the student knew me from there. So her mother writes to me that the other day Shagun and me were chatting, and she happened to question me as to whether she can take a drop from grade 10 this year. So now she doesn't want to go back and finish her grade 10. She said she would like to continue this program, as in work with you for a year, and so on. Right? So there are a lot of students who are interested in doing this kind of stuff. I also had the opportunity of going to India as a Fulbright fellow from January to June of 2011, and I specifically wanted to teach at a non-IIT institution. I wanted to teach at an institution which is not considered elite, and it was one of the best experiences of my teaching career. So the classrooms did not have air conditioning, nothing. 120 students packed in a capacity of 80. And students would not move. I can keep talking for 2-3 hours, and then I have to say, guys, I can't go on anymore, right? So they just want more and more, and it was really, really fantastic. And at this place, hardly any students were going for PhD, but several now are going for PhD. Manish Purohit started at Maryland, and I got an email from one professor saying that he's turning out to be a very good student. Initially, he was on the reject list, and fortunately, when I spotted him immediately, and I said, look, have you applied? He said, I've applied to US, but I'm getting rejects from every school. And fortunately, I had applied to Maryland, and I knew people there, and I immediately sent an email, and I got an email from the grad chair saying that, we were just about to send him a reject letter. Right? So fortunately, he got in, and the moment he got in, others were very inspired, and in the last 2 years, now 5 more students have started PhD program. So going back in time, so this is all I was thinking that, how did this start, and, why does this, why am I motivated to do this? And, it just, I realized that, actually I've been doing this since I was a child. This is something which comes quite naturally to me. So I was a nationally ranked table tennis player, and during the time when I was living in my apartment complex, actually several kids in that complex became nationally ranked. And when I left, the table tennis passion in that complex actually dropped. So I don't know if it has to do with me, but I'm just trying to connect the dots, because people always ask me, what is it that you do that is motivating people? And I don't have an answer, but these were some things. And then there was Ashish Kulkarni, who didn't do well in grade 10, and the parents came from very humble background. They said, look, they didn't have money to pay for his coaching classes, which were critical in India at that time. And so I coached him, and I was 1 year ahead of him. So I said, okay, I'll teach you math and physics, because I was not good at chemistry. And he did well, and he got into an engineering college, which was a big deal at that time. And he's doing wonderful now. And Balachandran Natarajan, he was a colleague of my wife, and she just happened to invite him home for dinner once. And I talked to him. I'm like, this guy is brilliant. He had a mechanical engineering background. Convinced him to pursue CS, and now he has several papers to his name. So the conclusion that I have is that ordinary people, when given a chance, can perform extraordinary tasks. So I think what I believe is that if people are given an opportunity, I think they can do very well. And many times we go by what is on the paper, and of course, what else can we go by? There are people who mess up a few years of their life, say, for their paper grades, but they are nevertheless good. I don't know if what is another alternative for them, even if they want to do well. What means do they have to come back on track and, let's say, go to any school they want to or so on? Right? Most of the students that I talk to are very frustrated. They say, look, we don't know how to get out of this rut, right? I'm at Camden, I don't know. I see everyone else doing the same thing, I'm following the same thing. Right? So it's something that I think to think about. And conclusion, what I want to say is that we want to give opportunity to people. And another thing that I was thinking is that many times people tell me, oh, you must be a very good teacher. And I don't. I think I'm a good teacher. I at least spend a lot of time on it. But a lot of this happens outside of the classroom. So it's not just teaching. I mean, there is a lot of time that goes on outside of the classroom to, do some of these things. And many times I wonder, as I was talking to Steve, that, none of this I believe is magic. This is all very, very simple, but one just has to spend time. And, if you look at, the jobs, the job listing. So job listing says, we are looking for someone in AI, we are looking for someone in machine learning, we are looking for someone in this. You never read a job statement that we are looking someone to inspire undergraduate students. And quite understandable, because what is the implicit assumption? The assumption is that we'll hire a faculty and the job description says that, you must be a dedicated teacher or whatever it is. But at many schools, if not all, the first thing that is being told is that, look, your tenure is going to be dependent on your research, so you may not want to spend much time there. On your teaching. And I believe that a lot of these things is what we see from our advisors and so on. And once an advisor doesn't spend time, the students would not spend time, and it just goes on. And I think, as a department, what is a department? The way I believe is a team of people, right? And we all need people with different strengths. And I think if we have people of different strengths, I think the department can do much, much better. And also, if you think about it, undergraduates are the ones who bring the largest amount of revenue, I believe, to a university. And it's, I think we can do a better job, of inspiring them. And for undergrads who are in the room, I just want to tell them that, look, what you have is a gold mine at Cornell. You are surrounded by absolutely top-notch scientists, top-notch engineers, and I think it would be a pity if you don't make the best of it. You can see what students at Camden, and there are plenty of Camdens, right? There are very few Cornells in the country, but there are many, Rutgers-Camdens, and people don't get any of these opportunities, right? So they drive to Maryland to take a course when you can get from the experts here who are actually authors of books, right? And finally, I want to thank a lot of people who have played a role in the success of this behind the scenes. Dr. Alok Baveja, who's in the business school at Rutgers-Camden, when I joined, he pointed me to a lot of resources which I can use to support my students. So that's how I got this small money, $200, $300 to support my students. Samir Kular, who always welcomed my students to give Colloquium talks there. And in fact, when Brad gave his first presentation, right after the presentation, the one faculty told him, if you apply to grad school, we will be happy to take you. So, it was very, very nice of him to give a launching pad to some of my students. Daria Torres, who's an evaluator for this program, she has been great because she gives me valuable feedback of what things we can do better, what the students are liking, and so on. And she has inspired, by talking to the female students. I cannot thank enough Rutgers-Camden students. Me being at Rutgers-Camden has forced me to think about these issues which I may not have thought otherwise, right? So they have been, to me, my last few years, it is, I guess, because of Rutgers-Camden students that, I am so passionate about what I'm doing. National Science Foundation, without them, I don't think I would have been able to have this much impact. To be able to tell my students, you don't worry about money, you just work, was only possible because of National Science Foundation. Fulbright gave me the opportunity to go to India and work with students there. And finally, my family, with the hours that I spend there, I have an extremely supportive family who supports my passion. That's it. Thank you very much.
We have time for questions. There is one part I want to know more details. So how do you motivate your students? Seems that your students have jobs and then they come to you and suddenly they feel very interested. But how do we inspire such motivation from those students?
So several people have asked me that. As I said, I don't have a good answer to that. It's I don't know what I'm doing differently than many others. Let's say that is being able to inspire. So my answer is, my conjecture is, maybe I connect well with people, and maybe that is why. I really don't have a good answer to that. That's what several people, even NSF, has asked me this, and I don't know exactly. That is one reason why we have an evaluator who hopefully is able to figure out from the data that she collects as to what it is. So I'll just tell you from what the data that we get, what students have really liked about at least the summer program and all, is that there is nobody's there to judge them. There are no exams, there are nothing. They are doing that because they enjoy thinking about problems. And so one of the first things that I have to teach high schoolers when they come to summer program is that don't get your answers from anywhere. So, think about, there are no deadlines for you. You just think about problems. And, it takes them, they are from high school where they are used to solving answers, get answers in 10 minutes. So it takes about a couple of weeks for them to get used to the idea that it's okay if I could not solve this problem for 2 weeks and I can think on it more. And they actually catch on to that. And when I'm talking to a student about a solution, the other student says, oh, are you talking about problem 9? No, I haven't done that. And they would leave. And to me, that is a very important thing. Once they get that they want to think, they want to enjoy the process of, deriving the solution, I think half the battle is won. That's what I think. But I don't have a precise answer here. Yes?
What are the first things that you do in your course to connect with students?
Excellent point. One thing is I learn names immediately. So I'm teaching a class of 150 students at Penn. By the end of third week, I knew 100 names. So, it just helps me. And my class is extremely interactive. So, I almost don't teach them. I let them take me, wherever. So they would tell me wrong things, I will just write them. And I would do a lot of things that I write on the board are wrong. Absolutely wrong. And I want them, I almost never give the correct thing the first time. So a lot of my time in preparing for courses goes in how do I fool my students. So, for example, I just taught a strongly connected components algorithm due to, Bob Tarjan. And I was teaching a class of 150 students. I said, somebody will point out this mistake. So I really had to prepare of how can I go on without students pointing out the mistake, because I feel that people learn most from the wrong answers than from the right answers. And coming up with wrong answers and having students think on the spot is, I think, something that I spend a lot of time on.
You said at the outset that when you arrived there, you were told, don't spend time on teaching, spend time on your research. Who told you that?
Most colleagues.
Colleagues?
Yeah.
Not administration, not the chair?
Not administration, because I hardly interact with administration. I'm the junior most faculty, but that's the, it's in the air. People say it's the research that would matter. But I believe I'm told that's true at most places, but I can only say about my case.
Mark's question, I think, has a natural follow-up question, which is, you make these choices that are not the conventional choices. You've gone against the standard advice.
Yes.
We're wondering, are you suffering as a
Oh,
result?
so no. Okay. So am I suffering? No, because thank you. Sorry, I didn't. Am I suffering? No. So first I was also told that spending time on this is not going to get you funding, and funding will help you in your tenure and so on. In hindsight, I realized, and none of this was planned. In my department, I have the largest amount of funding, right? So the thing is, and by spending a lot of time on this, have I suffered? I got tenure, so I have not suffered from that point of view. The only thing I've suffered is my own research, my own growth, I believe, that which I would like to do. But I had to make peace with that, saying that, look, I cannot do this and that both, and go. So, I had to make peace with that. So most of my research goes at a very slow pace with my students. So when I read papers with them, they go and present them. So, and when they present, many times initially I also have to read papers with them, because, I have to make sure that they know and help them, learn how to present and so on. So a lot of time goes there. But no, I won't say I'm suffering. No.
Has your success helped inspire other colleagues?
Yes, excellent question. So I would say about 50% of colleagues in my department, they have raised their level of courses significantly. Though, one thing I think they are trying very hard. And one thing I realize is you cannot just make courses hard without committing to spend time with students, because if you make a course very hard and you disappear, then God, it actually can, it will backfire. So I think they made their courses hard, but it's not easy for everyone to spend so much time, and I don't think it is expected. So there I want to say one thing, that one doesn't need to spend so much time to really inspire the success. I didn't have support initially at that time, but at a place like say for example Cornell, if it's just a group of faculty just make up their mind that, look, we are going to make a change, everyone will have to spend epsilon time, that's all. I don't think it is hard. It's just that since I didn't have initially that support, and I must also say that because I didn't have support, a lot of good things have happened. Like the positive side is that I now have my team of students. Like James has, nurtured several students after him. Like Yuping Tang, one of the students, she prepared a presentation on the approximation algorithm for Steiner tree problem. And James actually worked with her on the presentation. I didn't have to work with her at all. So, this helps my students actually. I mean, so they learn the art of mentoring, the art of giving lectures and so on while they're in undergrad. Yes, sure.
So what do you say to students when they come to you and they say, I'm doing a full-time job and I can do the coursework for my other courses, but your particular course, because it takes more time, like basically you might have to drop out, switch to something else.
So students have not complained about my, the word around is that this course is very hard. But they have not complained, so because I've always got very good evaluations, that's number one. But yes, the number of students who dropped the class initially was significantly high. It was about 1/3 of the class dropped. But that has changed now, because they know that, look, we are stuck with this is the pattern, we have to do it. And once that happens, that they have to do it, it's actually, still people drop. But they come back and people don't complain. But people who are there, I must also mention that, look, if I go by this, not everyone at Camden is, does extremely well. But there are students, but I also set my bar lower for people whom I have to pass. Right? So the people who are good, they also benefit, people who want to do further. And the people who want to take diluted courses, which they are used to, they also, they will get their grades.
Okay, Rajiv, thank you very much.
Thank you.